The topic of today is 7 tips for creating brilliant Kaseya agent procedures, and this is actually a blog post as well. So you can actually read all the tips we have here in a blog post afterwards, and let's deep dive into those. When doing Kaseya classes and seminars, we always say, when it comes to Kaseya agent procedures, everything goes. Anything you can do with command line, registry, files and folders, file content, VMI, PowerShell, keyboard and mouse, and so on, can most certainly be put in a procedure. Imagination, innovation, and a constant strive for improvement is the main key here, actually. So, 7 steps. 1. Organize the structure. This is easy said and done, of course. Therefore, the most important tip. We have a term called Charlie's best procedure. It's actually nobody got a clue what the procedure does or why it exists but Charlie. Let's point out a couple of best practices for organization. Develop a habit of documentation and structure. Keep the naming standards consistent and keep a structured folder tree to make it easier to find any procedure. Educate the team on the structure as well. So, by that meaning, have under shared a specified folder structure for, in this case, Windows, Linux, Mac OS X and so on, and even drill down further and create folders for specific kind of tasks. In this case, you can see we have a Windows folder under the Upstream Power Pack here. If you go to deploy applications, you can see which kind of languages we have, and you have even down to the specific script itself a naming standard. Try to match the names of the folders to the service you deliver. For instance, you can create a folder called daily maintenance where you put the scripts for keeping the workstations healthy. You can even have customer specific folders where you put your scripts for a certain kind of customer, so you can easily find those. We also would like to suggest that you have an in development folder right under the shared folders. So in this case, any technician that works on the agent procedures can see what are in the pipe, so to speak. So they can see and maybe have input on the current procedures that are in development. Normally you have a private folder as well, but the private, as the name is your own, so maybe your colleagues cannot see what's cooking in your private folder, so to speak. Let development of new procedures be a teamwork under the shared in development folder, rather than any man for himself. Lay out instructions for the team, what is needed for a procedure to be accepted, such as name, purpose, developer in charge, documentation, tested on which OS, and so on. And by documentation we mean if we edit a certain kind of procedure here, you can see in the description field naming standard applies, you have a description applied, you have an end user value applied, why should we do this, dependency, why, and how will it work on specific kind of operating systems. You have a usage, when to run this, how to run it. You have a report part, how do you report upon the procedure you just ran. You have a script maintainer or a procedure maintainer. So that's some of the key values to have in terms of documentation. And one last important thing when it comes to organize and structure, point out one person in charge for the agent procedures, that all of this we just spoke about will keep intact. As in physics, everything strives to be in a state of disorder. Keep one person at the job of keeping it tidy. Okay, proactive thinking. As described before in the first point here, the imagination and innovation are very important, and the constant strive for improvement is also a very important key. this should be company-wide. This should not be just one person that have these kind of values for proactive thinking. Develop a company-wide mentality to solve problems proactively. Service desk, sales, techs, anyone within the company. Don't just solve the problems and leave it be. Break down the problems into a couple of pointers here. Why did it happen? Could be one. Of course, it happened, but why did it happen? How can this be avoided in the future? Could this happen to any other customer? Or all for that matter? What is the action to solve the problem once and for all so you can eliminate the problem? Time and money saved on fixing the problem. That's a very important key. Who will be responsible for creating the procedure responding to the problem? So you can point out one person that will be responsible for make it happen, so to speak. Give a carrot to the one creating the procedure of the month. If you have a proactive thinking, people will think about solving problems all day long, and the one that will do the most efficient problem solving procedure should have some kind of carrot for that job. Number 3, learn the basics. By basics we mean the basics of agent procedures. The most common mistake in that is that you underestimate yourself by saying, I don't know anything about scripting, therefore I cannot create any Kaseya agent procedures. And that's wrong. You don't need to know everything about scripting, or Kaseya agent procedures for that matter. A simple command line, register hack, a service restart, or anything could do wonders. Translate what you do know right now to a procedure, and you will be amazed how much time you can save actually. You can follow Upstream Tech60 and download the Upstream Power Pack. It will be linked here afterwards, so you can get inspiration on how to do stuff. And when we talk about learn the basics, I will actually drill down some of the basics for you now, so you can learn the different kind of steps and the different kind of approaches in terms of application deployment, creating audits and so on. So let's drill down. I have one agent procedures highlighted here. It's the Adobe Flash Player, and quite recently here the Adobe Flash Player was updated once more with a critical issue, so it's a perfect example. So let's edit the procedure and take a look at the basics of the step-based procedures we have in Kaseya. Normally when you install an application, you have to download the application, you have to install it, maybe remote control the session, and the key part here is you can do it with one, you can do it with 2, maybe 4 machines at once in different kind of remote sessions. But as the machines are growing, the human errors comes along, and you will miss some of the steps, and you will do some errors, of course. And by leveraging the knowledge you have of how to do the steps and put them in an agent procedure instead, you can be certain that you will get the same result on one machine or on 1,000 machines. It doesn't matter, it's the same result. So let's go with the flow here in terms of the steps. If you have a new empty agent procedure, it will be totally clean here, nothing within, and you have to create a new step. A new step is always the first step in terms of doing an action. And you have on the right side here those defined steps you have within the agent procedures. It's always growing all the time depending on customer requests and normal development within Kaseya. So here you have a plenty of flora of predefined steps to choose from. Selecting one of the steps could be execute a file. You will be shown more step options. And to better describe the different kind of step options, it's better to just show the flow with how to deploy Adobe Flash Player. So I will delete this step here. So the first step we have to define is to get the Adobe Flash Player to the client that will have it installed. Okay, we have a predefined step called get URL, and this can be more accurately named as get or download an internet file or download file from the internet. Get URL will use a subroutine with curl. Curl is a command line driven tool to download any file from internet, any content from internet that matter. And get URL will tell Kaseya agent to download a specific kind of file from a specific kind of FTP or HTTP server. In this case we download the Adobe Flash Player installer. We will then put the installation file in a certain kind of folder on the machine targeted for deployment. Here we have a variable, a system variable. This variable will indicate what folder will we download the Flash Player to. In this case it will be C:*K working. So it could normally just state like this, and it will, this variable you just saw will grab the information from within Kaseya. What is the working folder, what is the temporary folder for the Kaseya agent? And in this case it's K working, as it is by standard. So we keep that temp variable here. We will wait for the procedure to download this file and continue when it's done, so to speak. And we will do this step on Windows-based machines. As you can see here, we have an option to choose from here which kind of operating system should we run this specified step on. So you can have multiple operating systems within the same agent procedure if you wish. If, for instance, I ran this on a Mac, it will skip all the steps that are not defined as a Mac. So we download both the Adobe Flash Player installers for both Internet Explorer and for Flash, Chrome and other web browsers. Then we come to a statement. We have to make we have to ask the machine if a certain kind of software is running or not. And this we do with a new if statement. New if statements can be viewed here. If you press on a new if statement like this, you will get a new if statement and you will be asked for a condition. In this case we will have the condition application is running, but as you can see we have more conditions if you wish as well. Test file, check variable, check if a user is logged in, test a register value, could be or in this could be also test if it's a 32 or 64-bit system. But we will use application is running. And then we have to specify which application are we looking for. I can take a look for Notepad, for instance. And within this step, I can take a new step. If this is true, so to speak, if this is true, it will actually go further down in the step. If Notepad is running, something will happen. Then we will actually close the application, Notepad. And that's basically what we do here in all of these steps. We are looking for the Chrome, we are looking for Firefox, we are looking for Internet Explorer, and close those if they are running. Then we go to the installation part. We execute a file, and execute file is a step that can be translated to run in the old-fashioned run in XP. We will pinpoint which file would we like to run. In this case, it's the downloaded Flash player file, and we will add the install switch for silent afterwards. And this is something that has nothing to do with Kaseya. It's how the installation package behaves. You can of course search for install Flash player silent, and you will find a lot of information on how to do it. You will execute, the agent procedure will execute this installation as system account. We are actually running the agent itself, the Kaseya agent itself, as system account. We will wait for the program to complete before continuing. And we will perform this step on Windows only, as it is a Windows installer. When all of this is done, we will delete the files to clean up after ourselves. And we will at the end write a specific entry in the procedure log for easy reporting. And this is very important that you keep consistent. If you keep this string consistent, you can actually use the same report over and over again without changing. So you can actually measure how many deployments you have done for Adobe Flash Player during a certain kind of days. Furthermore, you have an option down here to save and close, or save as. You can actually have a template for any kind of application deployment you wish, and just save as another copy. Then you can change any one of these steps, any one of these paths to different kind of applications as you wish. Okay, that's how to deploy an executable, an application in this case. Could be any kind of application. We have another example of application distribution in specific, and that's regarding MSI files. We take a look at the Skype installer here. This approach is a little bit different. We will, of course, download the Skype MSI file from the internet as normal. We'll check if the Skype is running or not. But the actual installation part is different. We use the execute shell command instead. And in this case, we use the MSI execute /i and install the MSI from the command line. And as you can see, it's no different from doing this manually on site on the machine. But in this case, we are creating a procedure to do it on one machine or on 1,000 machines at the same time. So normal installation in the MSI execute fashion, MSI exec /i, the path to the MSI, and switches afterwards for no reboot, quiet, and so on. We use the system account as well in this installation. But an important part that changed from running the executable as run execute file is that we actually pause the agent procedure a while before continuing. And that's because we have to know that the MSI execute command actually has finished before we can go on we do not have any checkbox here to make a statement that we will wait until it's finished. So take a pause, take a couple of seconds, 240 seconds in this case, to wait before you continue and delete the Skype MSI file in this case and write a procedure log entry. So that's the difference between run an executable and run a command line. But of course, now we're talking only about application deployment. You can of course do plenty of other stuff within the agent procedures, and we will give a couple of tips. Take a look at the audit part. Audit can be used to search for different kind of values on the machines. Could be a register value, could be a certain kind of folder, file, content of a file. I can use a couple of examples here, or I can use this as an example. This procedure will look for any PST file locally on the machine and report the findings in the agent procedure log. And we will use the old-fashioned dir command in command line. As you can see, it's nothing more special than a normal dir command. We are looking for PST files on all the subfolders, and we are piping this information to a text file called pst.results. So every finding will be in the pst result text file. Now we have the text file after a certain kind of seconds, and we will use the content of this text file to populate the agent procedure log. We will create a variable from the text file, and that's something you do with the get variable step. You choose what kind of variable would you wish to have. In this case, we will have to look for the file content, but you can of course have other kind of variables like file version number, VMI property directly from the command line, register values of course. In this case, we are looking for the PST result text file, and we will put the information from the PST result in the variable PST. Now we have defined the variable, and now we have also put content to that variable. So next step would be to actually the next step is to delete the text file just to clean up after ourselves. But the ultimate step is to actually post the information from the variable to the agent procedure log. So we have the step write procedure log entry, and we type a specific name here that's static, so we can search for that static name in the reporting engine. And we put the value from the text file we just created as a variable here in the agent procedure log. The result will be, it will just point out the path for the PST file in the agent procedure log. Of course, we can manipulate the registry as well, and I have a couple of examples here. Could be from the security section. Maybe you wish to secure the machines and make the USB mass storage device unsupported. In this case, you cannot attach memory sticks from USB and external drives. This can be fixed with an easy registry hack, something that you can search from the net itself. If you just take a web search engine and look for disable USB storage, you will find the registry post, the registry path needed to be edited. In this case, a simple step: set registry value, what registry path, and what value should it be in that specific path. Select the data type you require. So it's very easy to just manipulate the registry as well. Depending on the interaction with the customers, we spoke about variables before. We spoke about creating variables, and this is something that can be used in many cases. We have a certain kind of step within the variables called prompt when procedure is scheduled. That meaning you will get a pop-up on the screen to put in information about the variable you would like to have. And in this example, we use that function to send a message to the user. So if we send a message to the user, we as a technician will be asked what message would you like to send, and that text string we enter will be a variable called message, and that message will be sent to the machine as the variable message, and of course also logged within the agent procedure log. So that's a couple of examples on how to use the agent procedures in a very lightweight fashion without doing complex steps and doing long lines of code. We have just spoken about number 3, learn the basics. If you would like to learn more about agent procedures, we recommend that you drill down to and look at the Upstream Power Packs and learn more about the different kind of functions we have here. It's you can download that for free at upstream.se. Let's go on with the 7 tips for creating brilliant Cassia agent procedures. We just spoke about learn the basics in Cassia agent procedures. Let's go with number 4. Weekly staff meetings. Take time to save time, to be specific. Organize weekly staff meetings where common problems are broken down into problems solved with the help of a procedure. Document every new procedure and keep track of the innovation in the team. That's very important. Set a clear goal to solve at least one irritating problem a week. And that's also a very clear and defined goal. One procedure a week. As in tip 2, we indicated that we should have some kind of carrot for problem solver of the month or agent procedure of the month. Write a check, buy a beer or some movie tickets, something. Just do something to keep the spirit alive within the team, to make a little competition as well within the team. Number 5, calculate saved time. Cassia agent procedure is a very important part of the whole service delivery. Of course, it's related to doing proactive stuff, but it's very important to calculate the saved time when you're running scripts, because compare running, as we described before, the Adobe Flash player deployment manually on 1000 machines contra doing this with the agent procedures. There's very much time saved, and you have to calculate how many hours you saved. That's very important to have when you're doing pricing out to your customers, when you're doing internal study about the performance of the team and so on. So keep a spreadsheet of every task needed to be done on your clients and estimate the manual time spent on each. Highlight the tasks you can automate immediately, and do that within the Cassia modules. Monitoring, Windows patch management and so on. Then look at the manual tasks being done, such as third-party application updates, registry checks, restart one specific application each day, clean up a transaction log or folder, and let the technicians work on automating those kind of tasks. The idea is to break out the human factor and not be tied to a specific technician for a specific customer task. It could be quite important to take the business to the next level. Number 6, translate to customer values. And this actually, quite frankly, this is something I have a big problem with as well. One thing that many of us service providers have a hard time with is to translate the hardcore agent procedure tasks into soft values to the customer. What value do you bring to the table by running these procedures? What beneficials do they have? And this is something you have to put down on paper. As much as tips 2 indicates that time and money can be saved being proactive, the need to communicate this with the customer is also very important. What seems rock solid to us techies is gibberish to the customer. Number 7, constant learning applies. As in every business, good enough today is not good enough tomorrow. That's how it is. Practice constant learning. Stay educated on topics that can help you get the best out of automation. Take classes in PowerShell, system administration, read blogs like Upstream Tech60 for instance. Listen to podcasts on your favorite topics and subjects. Visit the Kaseya community. Catch up on IT news at least once a week to keep you updated. Implementing these 7 tips in the organization will do amazing things, both in productivity and the company spirit, I think. Get rid of the boring tasks and do what really matters. Be the professional advisor to your customers and talk about improving their business instead of keep IT floating, right? Okay, thank you for your time, and the content we described here is available to download and at upstream.se/tech60. Thank you.